Hello guys and welcome back to Watching Time. Today we are going to be discussing something that many people were asking, and it is a comparison between the Rolex Explorer 40mm and its old version, the Rolex Explorer 39mm. So we're talking here about a very small difference, and I'm not going to go through the details exactly of the numbers, but just for you to have a feeling, a look, and an idea of what we had in the past, what we missed, and where Rolex is going with this new size presentation. So here in my hands you see the 40mm. I think overall this is a perfect size, and although Rolex says it's a 40mm watch, I can assure you that measuring it with precision, it's actually not a 40mm size. And in some points it's 38.9, and in some others it's 39mm. So depending on the area you're going to be measuring it. So personally, I don't understand where the 40mm come from at this point, but probably it's only the bezel. I don't know. Although the bezel actually touches, well, it's slightly bigger than the case. That might be the case when I was trying to measure the watch overall. So at the end of the day, it is reduced respect to the size that they state. And I will tell you why I think this is probably the perfect size. So there is a lot of history obviously behind the 36mm. And I am glad and I am happy that many fans of Rolex Explorer got the opportunity to have back a 36mm. It is a perfect size for some wrist. It is a historic measurement. But what historic really means? It really means that at that time, that was the size that was in vogue. It was not related to the visibility, it was not related to the technicalities of the time. And you know, it's any vintage watch in that period will be around 36 and 38mm, except for Flieger watches that in Second World War, they were quite big for the visibility instead. So it is not really something that we should be like, oh wow, no, it is 36, because with 36 I'm a purist and 36 is the perfect size for a tool watch. This is not the case. We can discuss for hours on what is the perfect size, but the 36mm, it is a good size if you have a small wrist, as simple as that. I have an 18.5 centimeters wrist, and for me it's not the perfect size. So let's go back to the 39 and the 40. So you have them back to back here. And at first impression, someone might probably say, well, the 39 looks actually smaller. And there's an optic effect for this. First of all, the bezel size on the 40. The lag to lag, not vertical but horizontal distance here, it's actually wider. So the watch, the 40mm, sits much more, let's put it this way, flat, kind of, to your wrist. It hugs better the upper side of your wrist. The other thing is that reducing a little bit on the bezel size increases the dial and makes the watch looks bigger. It's an optical illusion that works very well. And the other thing is that the 39 is not really a 39, but actually goes down to a 38, or in some points even 37.8. So it is quite interesting. At the end of the day, we have two watches with a specification that is not really the reality of the size of the case, but the difference in the lag white section makes a lot of difference in the wrist. As you can see on the 39, the lags are longer, more elongated. but also they are narrower compared to the 40 mils. And this makes you feel like the watch is, I don't know, more vertical, we can say, but definitely worse, even worse in terms of size wrist because of the distance that you have here. Um, Actually, if you compare the both, the 39 will probably look a little bit bigger in some wrists because of the lag to lag distance. So this is quite interesting actually. The other thing that it's quite an interesting difference is the width of the bracelet. As you can see, it is different. This is narrower, and the 40 mils is actually wider, and that again makes that the watch hugs better the wrist. And hugging better the wrist makes you also feel like the watch is sitting in a more perfect tool kind of style. This is the only way I can describe it. Obviously, there are differences between the old references and the new ones. Even the 36, they changed the position of the Explorer logo. Well, yeah, it's a logo at the end of the day. The Explorer word to the top part instead of the bottom part that you saw on the 39 iteration. This you will find also on the 36 millimeters and even in the gold stainless steel horrendous tool watch that Explorer 36 is. Sorry guys, but it's just not, it's not a tool watch if it has gold. It goes into total different direction, but that's okay. There is something more for all tastes, which is fine. The Chromalight is perfect. Obviously, nothing to say about Rolex, but I can assure you, having so many watches, that definitely the lume that is being used in some of the Japanese watches, it's much better in terms of performance. This is to say that as of today, Rolex has not managed to surpass, even if they are marketing it as, oh, this is the next generation and it's going to be bright, blah, 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 blah. It really is not. You will not show the difference, and if you confront both watches, actually you will see that these Japanese watches have a better lume duration, especially. But this is not a diver, so that's not a problem. And definitely, as a tool watch, is more than enough. So as you can see, bracelet wise, there is a difference, especially in the near the lag section. And then obviously you have the clasp, which is essentially the same. Nothing has changed from the 39. Here you go, it's just a little bit wider, and that's because of the this new way of fitting the watch to the wrist. So let's have a very quick wrist test. So for any of you guys, I know this is not an Explorer, but this is the Air King, the new model. And as you can see, there's some type of difference between both watches, the Air King and the Rolex Explorer. They share definitely an interesting point in common, which is the 3, 9, and 6 in the dial. And at first sight, it might look like an Explorer, but at a greater inspection, the use of the green in the logo, definitely this is a model that when they presented the new version last year, I was really happy because I own also the old one. I will do a video on that comparison also. But those small details that they have changed, making it flatter, changing the case, making the crown guards, introducing a 0 next to the 5, just makes this watch much more wearable and more perfect, if we can say that. Anyway, let's go back to our Explorer. This is a 40 mils, and I remind you all, in an 18.5 centimeters wrist, and as you can see, it fits quite nicely. It is a watch that I will need to increase a little bit on the size with this hot weather. So as you can see, it fits very nicely on an 18.5 centimeters. The watch sits perfectly on the wrist, and its flatness and wider bracelet, I think it is really nice because it gives the look of something that just is more of a tool watch than the 39. The 39 is not a bad option, and definitely you will see that the 39 also sits very well on the wrist. It was a very nice size. Many people were not happy with it getting out of the market, so I'm happy that they brought back the 40.